Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending the regular planning board meeting of the City of Laconia. It is Wednesday, June 1st, 2016. It being 6:30, we can begin our formal agenda, and I'll call the meeting to order. First would be our recording secretary this evening is Kalina Graham, and would you call the roll of the planning board, please?
Tyler Sinclair.
Here.
Edwin Bonis.
Here.
Mike Phillips. Here. Jay Tiffany.
Here.
David Bounds.
Here.
Bill Contardo.
Here.
Gail Denayo. Here. Hamilton McLean.
Here.
And Chair Hutchins.
Thank you. And with us this evening at the table is Brandy Laughlin, our interim planning director. And we have two regular members of the planning board who are not with us. Don Richards definitely not, and Jerry has not shown up yet. And he probably won't, because he's generally a little early if he does. And so I would like to ask Michael if you would vote this evening, and Charlie, if you would vote this evening.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Okay, let's see, the formalities are done. Just for anybody's knowledge, under our agenda is application acceptance, and there are 5 of them listed down there. And what that is a legal start point for the application process, but they will not be discussed tonight. It's an acceptance of the application. So if anyone is here expecting discussion on these 5, it won't take place this evening. It will take place next month. Generally, we have half the room get up and walk out. Okay, thank you. We'll first go into continued public hearings. The first on the agenda is 55 Growth Road, a Lakes Region Dog Park proposal. And we have accepted that.
That's correct.
Prior. Then we'll ask the applicant to make a presentation. Just don't bark at us, John.
No, definitely not. I'll go ahead. It's okay. I got 2. Yes.
Thanks, John.
Mr. Chairman, just before we get started, is there, there's a discrepancy in the name of this project?
No.
Here, in one instance, it's called Happy Tales,
Okay.
and in another instance, it's called Happy Trails.
Oh,
I like Tails better, actually. It's Tails.
that's my understanding.
You win. Heads, I win.
Oh. Oh.
If anyone else wants to see it.
Yeah, on the site plan.
It's Happy Tails.
It is Happy
Happy
Tales.
Tales.
Yep.
I have.
That's a typo on the
Unless I can turn it.
staff review.
Good evening, John Roque, Roque Consulting on behalf of the Happy Tales Dog Park. I was here last month and we were continued to this month. I gave you guys kind of a brief overview of what was going on while we were waiting for the other application. But we're here this evening for the public hearing portion. What we put together is a gravel parking area off the end of Growth Road. There's a large kind of natural graded area, which means we're going to in the area of the 2 dog park, the 2 fenced in areas. We're going to cut a bunch of trees, but not necessarily regrade the entire thing. So it's not going to be a leveled off site, and there's going to be a lot of the trees that still exist within the fenced in area. And then there's also a separate puppy area that's basically the same thing. We've actually gone to City Council. We've gotten approvals from them. The agreements with the city are pretty far underway with Kevin. We've gone through the TRC process. I've gone through and did the design on the grading and drainage, and it's been reviewed by Luke Powell. Some of the conditions of approval, or the conditions are that I've actually made the ponds a little bit too big. I'm gonna finalize things with Luke, but you're seeing the worst case scenario. It only gets better from what I'm showing on here right now. We have 20 parking spaces on a gravel parking lot. Everything that runs off of this gravel gets caught in swales, so everything gets into the detention pond, and it's actually an infiltration basin. It's all sand and gravel out there, basically, so nothing is going to ever leave the site. We've set up a dumpster with screening off the end of the parking lot as you come in. There's going to be one portable toilet. There's going to be park rules signed right when you come onto the walkways. There's going to be all the park rules, and there's going to be doggy bags. And there's actually some dispensers around within the fenced-in area also for waste cleanup. Let's see. Design-wise and layout-wise, that's pretty much the extent of it. If you look at I don't know if you have the full plan set, but this is located basically right off of Growth Road on a 22-acre parcel, and we're only taking up about an acre, a little over an acre, for the entire area we're using. So we don't really get within even 200-300 feet of any abutter at all. So we're kind of isolated out in woods that's going to remain uncut and natural. So it's a pretty isolated thing off of the more industrial area off of Growth Road. That's pretty much the design in a nutshell, and if you got specific questions about where we are with, city council and agreements, Kevin can answer any of that. If you have anything on the grading and drainage, I can go over any details you want on that, but it's pretty straightforward in terms of a site plan.
Who is going to maintain the dumpster, get rid of it? Who pays for all that kind of thing?
That's part of the ongoing maintenance fund. There's been a donation for construction, and then basically like a trust for maintenance of the site. And the long-term maintenance will come out of basically a yearly trust allowance.
Just as a thought.
Mm-hmm.
The dumpster is very convenient. And
Yes.
many people are going to put
Yes.
many things in it, so just to
Yep.
just give you something to think about, maybe location or whatever you want to do, or
Yep.
some kind of those in the woods
Well,
cameras.
I did set it up with screening, and it'll be gated and stuff like that, so if it turns into an issue like in the evening, like people going in the evening and dumping in the middle of nowhere, then it may be such a thing that we lock it up when it closes, it gets locked up.
And how did we work, what was the resolution on the noise? Remember there's some noise issues? Someone talked about noise at one point in time last year. Did that work itself out? I'm not sure.
I don't believe anything's ever been brought up about noise, and that was part of why I was pointing out how the remoteness of it.
Right.
Like, I think to the south, there's basically like an open gravel pit right now.
Yeah.
And it's quite a ways to the north that you hit the first abutter, and then the abutters down on the other end are like nearly 1,000 feet away, so through the trees,
There
so
was something in the
Yeah.
background last year or something about it, but maybe there wasn't. Okay.
nothing that I'm aware of.
John, are you relying mainly on users of the area to self-govern?
Yes.
So
Yep.
there's no provision for if Mr. Jones doesn't to clean up after his dog, there's some kind of recourse through somebody. Kevin?
I'm Jenny Martin. I'm the
You know what?
president of the Happy Tails Dog Park. I can comment also on that, too.
Okay.
There's an ordinance in place for pet waste, and so if anybody, that's a violation of our existing park rules. This will have, abide by city park rules and regulations, although there'll be a whole separate group of rules and regulations relating specifically to the dog park, because if it's a unique situation.
Basically like layered on top of the
Right.
regular
Correct.
regulations.
So those regulations will apply, and if there's somebody that's abusing certain rules and regulations, we would handle it like we would any other park.
It's fair.
Kevin, there's, some of these developments have these little disposal things that they set up collectively.
Yep.
Like at a supermarket, they take a little tissue thing.
Yep. There'll be pet bag
They're gonna have that,
dispensers.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one right as you come off the parking lot, and then, like I said, there's gonna be a couple more
In the
within the
interior.
enclosed area too, so.
Super.
Any other questions? Gail?
The puppy area, is that going to be the same height of the chain link fence, the 6 foot?
Is the chain link fence for the puppy area the same height? It wouldn't necessarily need to be
I believe it's going to be 4 feet.
4 feet.
Do you think it should be higher?
I think so, because if you have a large puppy, St. Bernards aren't tiny
Well,
when
we
they're...
have a small dog area and a large dog area, and then the puppy pen is a short time use thing for the puppies, I would think, until they start, and then when they outgrow it, they move into the small dog one. We have been, the Lakes Region Kennel Club
Could you stand just-
has donated.
Could you stand up? We're on
Yeah.
television and being recorded also, please.
We've received a donation from the Lakes Region Kennel Club that they've been holding on to for quite a few years for us of some 4-foot fence, so that's why we thought we would utilize that for the puppy area. But it's not engraved in stone that we do that.
I'd recommend a little bit higher than 4 feet, only
Well,
because,
the other areas will be 6 feet.
that's why I asked, because that one wasn't really designated, and I didn't want to assume the puppy area was going to be the 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we had been planning on 4 foot. I hadn't put it on there, but for even if it's a St. Bernard puppy, by the time it gets to where it could jump over a 4-foot fence, it's going to need to be over in the regular area. So.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? Yes.
Have you been able to address the 24-foot wide driveway? Is that part of the plan now?
That will be a condition of the revised plans.
I'm just asking them if they can do it, and
Oh, yeah, there's no issue with actually doing it, no.
Okay.
That's no problem.
and
And it won't affect like the drainage calculations or anything like that. We can physically do it, yes.
are you doing anything with the recommendation from DPW about the infiltration basin?
Yeah, it's actually too big. I need to reduce the size of it. I had gone through and got it all designed. I kind of laid it out, so I knew it was big enough, and when I made the submittal and actually ran the calculations the night before, it was too big. So it's actually, like I was saying in the beginning, this is the worst-case scenario. It's just going to get a little bit smaller.
Is that one of the
But-
conditions of approval?
Yep.
Yeah, so
And basically,
condition-
what happens is, because it's a little big right now, absolutely nothing comes out. And I'm gonna just downsize it to the same point where nothing still comes out.
So condition F, revise infiltration basin design to be submitted
Yep.
to and approved by the planning department with the final draft plans. So when they submit the final draft plans, where I check for the corrections, we'll want that infiltration basin, and I'll work with Luke to make sure it's adequate.
Super.
John, have you addressed the tax map lot number?
Yeah, I've actually got that all fixed on here, so.
Are we going to be able to tax the city for this? That was a joke. Tax bills just came out.
Yes, they did.
Staff review?
So this project is a municipal use. It does require a CUP from the planning board for that use. There are also a number of waivers, requests here for a landscaping plan, application fee, 2-foot contours on the plans, and sidewalks. I do think, after discussion, if the board would like to do so, you can approve those waivers in one motion as long as you're specific about that. that includes all 4 of those waivers. As far as the sidewalks go, this is kind of in that industrial park area, and it has been the history, policy-wise, of the board not to require sidewalk installation in those industrial park areas, the one on Lexington and the one up this way. So I know there's often discussion about sidewalks and whether or not you want to approve those waivers. I figured I'd give you that background for your discussion. Other than that, there are, a number of revisions, as you can see, A through H, but they're really just cleaning up the plans. It's nothing significant. This is pretty low impact. Like John said, the lot is very large, and the area that they're going to be working in is very small in comparison. So other than really those, kind of cleaning up the plan revisions, I think it's good to go, and we recommend approval.
And where this is a municipal project, really the normal process is that it comes before us first for a CUP, then goes to the city council, giving timing and the desires of the city to move this project forward. It has been to the council, and so really we're just confirming the details, which is our role to make sure that, because we're more knowledgeable about details than the council is.
So that road is going to be 26 foot wide, is that what you said?
24 as required.
24 per fire.
And what's going to be utilization? What's the anticipated amount of people there at any given time, at the peak? Yeah,
There's only 20 parking spaces to be to total, so
I understand.
and we don't necessarily anticipate all of those ever even being used at once. So,
Okay.
like there's a park down in Concord and a couple different places, and 20 is a pretty good number for this. Like that should handle just about anything that would come up. What's that?
I said if there's no sidewalks, the roadway is wide enough that if they had a park along the road, there's plenty of access up and down that road.
Yeah, down this industrial park area, it's remote enough from almost any place. You'd have to walk all the way from 107 down the industrial road, down Growth Road. It's a ways just to walk into this place. They'd be walking a long ways on no sidewalk before they got to the site.
Any further questions?
Oh, yeah. So is the waiver for sidewalks and payment in lieu of sidewalks?
So the way it works, when the board grants a waiver, you're granting a waiver for the sidewalk requirement, period. If you deny a waiver, you're telling the applicant you have to put the sidewalks in, or if you choose to give them the option, do the payment in lieu of.
And where this is a municipal project, it's that old federal trumps state, state trumps local, local trumps us.
So, so for example, the fire station project we saw last year did not put a sidewalk on, is that Dartmouth Street?
Tremont.
Tremont Street side. And that was a municipal project.
That's a
so-
prerogative of the council and the manager.
So this project could actually go forward without our approval?
Well, under Laconia zoning, it does require a CUP, and all municipal projects do go through here.
Yep.
And normally, they go through first before they go to the council. This one, as I explained, just went the other way.
Especially because this is kind of like a quasi situation, like the WOW Trail, where you've got a nonprofit working in tandem with the city.
Yeah.
So,
But to their credit, they briefed us initially about a year or so ago, 2 years ago, on the concept, and we appreciate that very much. And then at our last meeting, informally, we had an up-to-date also on this. So given that, then, is there any other discussion to take place?
I just have one question for Kevin. I know nothing about dog parks. I'm learning a little bit about it. But in your view, is this going to be adequate to serve what we think the needs will be in the city?
Yeah, I think this is a large dog park compared to what you'll see in other areas. It's a good-sized space. I think there's adequate parking there. I think there's even opportunity at some point to, if there needed to be an expansion of it, there could be. So I don't have any concerns about the size of the facility.
Thank you.
Thank you. Where this is a public hearing, are there any abutters that would like to address the board on this application? Seeing none, are there any other taxpayers of the city of Laconia that would like to address the board on this application? Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing at 10 minutes to 7. And is there any general discussion that the board would like to have before we move to motions?
So will we have a separate motion for the waiver requests? Is that?
Yes, we always do have to do the waivers first. And in this instance, who makes the waiver request can just state that there are 4 waivers and just mention the titles of them. That way it'll be incorporated into the minutes of the meeting. Then I would like to ask for a motion on the waiver requests.
I'll move approval of the conditional use permit for PL 2016-0056SP, the Happy Tales Dog Park. Also, approval of the waiver requests.
Yeah, we need to do it
Yep, so we need approval
of the waivers
CUP.
first, and then
First.
we'll have another motion for the approve the application.
Okay,
Just
so,
a procedural.
motion to approve waiver requests, number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
For the landscape plan, application fee, 2-foot contours and sidewalks.
Is that correct?
I'll second it.
A motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise their right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Then we
Thank you.
need a CUP approval and a site plan approval.
Can we do that in one, though, can't we?
You can? Okay, I apologize, you can.
Thank you. Then, I'd like to hear a motion for a site plan and a CUP approval.
I move site plan approval and conditional use permit for PL 2016-0056SP, Happy Tales Dog Park, subject to conditions 1A through D, plan revisions, number 2, A through H, number 3, conditions must be met prior to final approval or recording of the Mylar, A through C, number 4, conditions be completed prior to the start of site work, A and B, number 5, conditions applicable during and after construction, A through F.
And the remaining duration of approval appeals process.
Oh, does that also have to be included?
It's a good thing.
Okay, duration of approval, appeals, and the appeals process.
Thank you. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Passes unanimously. This is a wonderful, wonderful project, and we thank the volunteers that have brought it to this stage and your continued involvement as you pass the project over to the city. I'm sure without as many things in the city, volunteers are very, very important, and we thank you very, very much. Thank you. Almost adjourned the meeting. I put my agenda away. The next public hearing.
Yeah, let's, do you want us to draw the blinds, put the blinds down?
Are we too bright?
Well, is it in, it's in the camera and it looks like it might be in your face a little.
Oh,
We
okay.
can put them down
Sure.
real quick. Okay.
There's no reason. Our next continued public hearing will be for Provincial Road subdivision of one lot into two. We have already accepted this for acceptance, and so we'll begin the public hearing this evening by asking the applicant, who's putting things up on the board. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Ron Johnson. I prepared this plan for CNR Realty. Property consists of 1.30 acres. It's on the south side of Provençal Road. It's a dead-end road that leads off of Mile Hill Road. It's got 160 feet of frontage on Provençal Road, and its depth is about 350 feet. The proposal is to subdivide this parcel into 2 lots.
Excuse me, I don't want you distracted, Councilman.
You're too kind.
Thank you.
The proposal is to subdivide this parcel into 2 lots. On the board, in orange is a small lot, it was .339 acres, and the blue lot is .96, almost an acre, .963 acres. And each lot has 80 feet of frontage, which is basically minimum. City water has been stubbed to each lot. It's there. Sewer's on the west side of a lot in a wetland buffer. This is a sewer line that services a community college, and it was installed in the 60s. It's been there forever.
Which is the west side on this plan?
North, so this is the west side. The sewer line is this green line right here.
That line goes all the way across there.
Goes across down through that housing project, I believe, and then all the way up to the college.
Is that the principal line for the college?
That's his sewer line. It's an 8-inch line. 8-inch, 6-inch. Six-inch asbestos line. It's an old line. It was put in the 60s. It was put in without benefit of easement. The state does what they want. So we submitted this application, I don't know, 3 months ago, and we've been waiting for an easement to become, a reality. So now we have an easement both ways. They have an easement for their sewer line, and Mr. Dunn has an easement to put, connect to the sewer line. There's
Excellent.
a restriction, basically, they can only have a duplex on each lot, so it's going to be limited to a duplex on each lot, so there won't be any multifamily on the larger lots. It'll just be 2 duplexes. At any rate, and Provençal Road has been upgraded and paved. The developer at the end of the road, which is down towards the bypass, has those huge, I don't know how many story buildings down there. One of them was a college barracks. The other one is an apartment building, I guess.
Yes.
So they're upgrading. They've upgraded the road. They're going to surface it. They brought sewer down. They brought everything they needed. We requested a waiver for sidewalk. This company is going to build a sidewalk for us. It's not in place yet, but they're going to provide the sidewalk as part of their development at the end of the street. And the road is not a town road or a city road at present, but it will be accepted in the fall. This is according to Luke Powell. We propose to access both lots off a common drive, approximately at the center of the property. It's kind of highlighted in yellow on that plan. The upper drive, which exists, enters on a 50-foot buffer from a wetland. The Mirsky property to the west, this is all wetland in here. And basically, there's a 50-foot buffer. That's the regulation. But anyway, so we're not going to use that driveway. We're going to eliminate that driveway, and that's all going to be grassed over in the end, and the buffer will be preserved.
Where was the sidewalk going to go, right along there?
On the other side of the street.
That one's coming right
On
here.
that side, okay.
It's on the other side of the street, though, right?
No, on this side of the street, on our side, I believe, right? It's going, sidewalk's going on our side, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though all that
This is,
work has been done on culverts and,
there's room there between the pavement and the culvert work, the riprap and the drainage and everything to put a sidewalk in there.
okay.
So basically, that's the proposal. It's a 2-lot subdivision, or 1-lot subdivision, 2 lots. They're going to be residential use. It's in an RG zone, RA zone. A very, very small portion of it is in the RS zone. This little teeny piece here. But it's basically all apartment zone.
Are you going to hook up to the Excuse me, I'm speaking out of turn.
No, you can, sir?
Are you going to hook up to the city sewer?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to saddle into the sewer line that the state has. They have an easement to get in there, so they're going to saddle in here and service both lots from there. And the water, we're going to have to, we've got a CUP to address here, so we're going to need to go through the buffer and hook the sewer up and the water up.
I have a question really for staff. He's requesting a waiver for sidewalks because someone else might do it. So if they decide not to do it, where are we in that whole process?
Well, I think the approved site plan for the other project includes the installation of the sidewalks. That being said, we have seen projects start and stall. So it's up to the board if you want to grant the waiver with a condition or deny the waiver, or however you may want to work that.
It's hard for me to scope it because I'll tell you the reason why. If we say waiver the sidewalk because the other people are going to put the sidewalk in, okay? And for some reason, we put a condition that you put the sidewalk in if they don't, but they, for some reason, they get a waiver that they don't get their sidewalk in. So then we have a little piece of sidewalk that goes nowhere, which is really, I think, for a pedestrian, it's a liability, so to speak, you know? So it's a catch-22, I think. I'm not sure where we are in this whole loop.
Don't they have some kind of a security deposit for the sidewalk?
They do, yep. Yeah,
If
I
it doesn't get
mean,
built, the city will build it, right?
I'm sorry, what?
yeah, so, I mean, there is a site security deposit, so we do have, we do have funds to, button up the site or whatever it is. I mean, it's honestly highly unlikely that that will happen.
Okay.
However, in the event that something like that happens at any project site, even if that wasn't happening, and they would be required to put just a stretch of sidewalk in front of that lot, it's been the planning board's position consistently that at some point, if we plan for the future, there will be sidewalks. So granting waivers doesn't give us those little pieces that will be connected in the future. And that's my experience, as far as what the way the board has gone.
Has Apple Ridge put up any kind of a bond or anything?
Yes, yeah.
To secure the building of the sidewalks in case?
It's part of their site security, our standard site security deposit that we require.
If we were to require a bond from this applicant, how much of a hurt would that be?
For the sidewalks
Yeah.
specifically? Well, I mean, we'd require site security anyway for the utility, for this, any site work that they've got to do, their utilities or whatever that might be.
Well, I just don't want to be in the position that you foresee, in which we've got little pieces of sidewalk going down the road here. So I want to, the bond that they would put up would cover utilities and electric. I just want to make sure the city is going to be whole if something happens to Apple Ridge,
So the other thing is that the board has also made it a practice that if you deny a sidewalk waiver, you do on occasion give the applicant the option to either install the sidewalks themselves or to submit that payment in lieu of, in which case we would get an estimate from DPW as far as the cost of the sidewalk construction. And we've had this happen at several sites where the applicant has decided to pay that amount, and it goes into a fund which is to be used for improvements to sidewalks in the vicinity of that particular project.
Well, in the best of all possible worlds, that's probably something I would like to say, but I don't want to create an undue burden for the developer either, and I have no idea what the cost would be to the developer. I assume that once the sidewalks were built, they would get that money back, or that bond back, or whatever. But
The money would go to the construction of the sidewalk.
yeah,
It would be their money that would construct the sidewalk.
yeah.
So what type of site security are we talking on that project right now in general? Any idea?
I'm sorry, what? Yeah, I mean, it really depends on for the sidewalk you're talking about, or just for
Well, for
the?
that, I mean, there's no infrastructure per se, right?
Yep. So site security in general is 10% of 110% of the project
Exactly.
estimate
So if
cost.
there's no infrastructure, it's 10% of zero, really, when you think about it. And what am
Well, I don't know if DPW and water is going to want site security for the
They
utilities.
probably won't, because they go by a fee, I think, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty much fee.
At that point, it's that's in the construction agreement.
So,
I think the...
I don't even know how you would put a tag on it, an estimate on it.
For the so the sidewalks, I think, would be separate. If you guys require sidewalks, they will have to put a site security, because that will be,
Just a sidewalk.
that will be infrastructure.
That'd be hard to put a number on, but it's not difficult to do.
No, DPW does that.
Yeah, it's not
Yes.
difficult to do that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Clayton Dunn, CNI Realty Trust. I guess the terminology is called a waiver, sidewalk waiver request. It's really not a waiver because you already have a sidewalk. You already have the site security deposit. The base coat of the roadway is in. They have to put a top coat on the roadway. And they're going to put an asphalt curbing along the edge of the roadway, and the sidewalk is going to abut the roadway. There's not going to typically be a 3-foot stretch of grass in between the road and the sidewalk like is on Union Avenue and whatnot. That's just the way that project went through the planning board. But you already have all the site security. If you need a little bit more to be comfortable or whatever, but I mean, it's no different than doing a project that already has a sidewalk. We did Beaman Street a couple of years ago, and there was already a sidewalk on Beaman Street. So we didn't need...
You have the same entity as what's going on in the other area? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the sidewalk's not there yet, but you already have the large site security deposit for, I don't know if you've been down there, but the major project with the housing down for the,
Right, are you the same?
No.
No,
You're not.
no,
Okay, all right.
no.
As the applicant for
I
this.
understand that, I just don't know if you guys...
Separate, but
On the other one, too.
I think they're going to be doing the sidewalk within a month or so. They've got the base coat on the roadway. They're going to raise the structures, put the sidewalk in, and then put the finish coat on the roadway, and that project will be completed.
So, Bernie, when is that other project going to be completed? Any idea?
In my discussions with Luke Powell, he anticipates that the city will accept the street as a city street, in which case the sidewalks are part of that package.
But that's not a foregone conclusion. It has to come here, and then the council is the final
Yeah.
authority on accepting
Probably,
streets.
yeah, but I mean, as far as the timeline, I think probably by the end of the year.
Or end of the year, okay.
What we have is
Don't
a
quote
whole
me on that.
series of probably.
Yeah, right.
And in addressing
We'll
this waiver, we'll have to assure ourselves that if all those probables don't come to play, then there is
Then
a
there's something-
requirement, then the sidewalk does have to be put in.
Or whatever.
Or the
on
fee.
the sidewalk, and the equivalent is going to be, the city is doing what they're going to do.
Well, what you're essentially telling me is you might think you might not have enough site security on the initial project that you approved, which is supposed to cover if they don't top coat the road, if they don't put the sidewalk in. So we're kind of double dipping here, but I don't want to
No, I
get on the
understand
wrong
what you're
side of
saying,
anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Even if you think about it the way I'm thinking, yeah, double dipping, but on the other side of it too, if one doesn't dip, then there's nothing happening at all. You know what I mean?
We have many projects that,
Then in a vacuum, nothing can move on, or there's
I
no
think
progress there.
each-
where you're not in control of that other project, we have to consider that project may not come to fruition.
And that's what the site security money is for. correct?
It may be, it may not be enough.
I think we can approve the waiver on a condition, you just tell me if I'm wrong, on the condition that DPW review the site security that's in place and make a determination if an additional site security would be advisable for this project. Because if they've got the site security for the entire project, then we're not being put in jeopardy. If they don't, if they're uncomfortable with that, we would ask the applicant to provide additional site security in whatever amounts they think necessary, and I don't think that kind of requirement would hurt your lot. That's my thought.
It's actually, that's, I think that's good thinking.
That sounds like a lawyer's good point of view.
No,
Don't start calling me names
he'll have a few minutes, he'll shrink this down
Let's
here.
not start calling me names.
It's all the years of school and coming out right there.
To,
So there's not, if you had to do it yourself, there's no big deal in doing that, right? I mean, what's the cost of doing it? If you had to come up with a bond to secure this, so, I mean, the cost on that is.
I did paving for 30 years, I think I
You
could
know
do
what
the
I'm saying?
sidewalk.
It's not a showstopper, right, okay.
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 Then, let's see, staff do you have any more to say, Ron?
No, unless there are questions, I'd be happy to answer questions if I can.
Okay. We're not shy. Brandy?
So this application is for a subdivision. The resulting lots meet all required zoning ordinance dimensions, frontage, square footage, all of those requirements. There's also an application for a CUP that you guys need to make sure you include. That is for impacts to the wetland buffer, for that extension of the sewer line and that water line to the lots.
Is that included in the staff right up here?
It should be.
I just want to make sure that it is included when it comes time to make the motion.
It should be, but when you make the motion, you can say, approval for the subdivision and CUP for the wetland buffer, as you did in one motion on the last application.
What language do you want to use again?
So it will be approval of the subdivision and the conditional use permit for the wetland buffer.
Does 4 cover that?
Yes,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Other than that, street trees.
We plan on leaving the trees that are there.
There's enough trees to provide coverage? Okay. If existing trees are not kept at a minimum of 1 every 50 feet, you'll have to replant to accommodate that.
And that states it in there, existing trees must be kept at a minimum of every 50 feet, and if there aren't existing, you have to put them in. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not sure that 4 includes the subdivision approval. Just tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh, 4 is about the wetland,
Yeah,
and all of the conditions apply to the subdivision approval.
okay. All right.
Any other comments?
Nope.
Where this is a pub...
Okay.
Oh,
I have a question for the applicant.
sure.
The memo from, again, DPW, Paul Moynihan and Luke Powell, talks about the concerns with the community college. And I assume that you've been addressing those concerns so that you'll know what their capacity is and those kinds of things before we launch off here. And is that in the approvals section?
This is about the easement?
Yeah.
Yes, so we got a copy of the easement.
Okay.
Yep, so that will be recorded along with
Not
the
just the
things.
easement.
No?
Not
Easement's
just the
recorded.
easement, but the service line capacity?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That would be important.
Yeah, I think that was addressed to TRC, the service line capacity. I could go back and check the minutes, but my understanding is that that was reviewed
Okay.
and not an issue. The service line capacity?
Yeah, Luke Powell wrote a letter to the state, the college, and told them that he felt that 6-inch was adequate for what they were going to do, both the college and the 2 duplexes. And this is the easement that's recorded. It's a 2-way easement.
Okay.
You want to look at it, or?
No.
And with the property, 1.3 acres, we could have gone with 12 units, and 2 duplexes, basically residential, single-family, if you have enough square footage. So it's probably going to be 2 residential homes in there, or possibly 1 duplex, but I didn't want to go through the whole, thing with, to get 12. Yeah, to go with approval for 12, even though we had the land and the adequate room. So I was trying to keep it a little simple and make it smooth. Thank you.
Any other comments at this time? Then are there any abutters that would like to address the board on this application? Seeing none, any other taxpayers of the city of Laconia that would like to address the board on this application? Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing. This is great. 7:15. Then, is there any general discussion that the board would like to have?
Nothing for this applicant, but according to his memo, there's a 6-inch asbestos sewer line.
Yeah.
You know, so what's the story with that? I mean,
The state, the community college owns it.
pardon?
The community college owns it.
I understand they own it, but I'm saying not for this applicant, but what's going on with that? I mean, we should be aware that asbestos is a very carcinogenic material.
We are aware.
I'm not an engineer, but it's a transite pipe, and there's a lot of that in ground in Laconia. That was a thing in the 60s,
So
transite pipe.
that's not necessarily that unique?
It's not unique to that area.
Asbestos is only hazardous when it's friable, not when it's in a solid state. Only when it starts to crumble and break up and turn into dust, when it's solid, it's not hazardous.
I understand that, but, you know, whereas it could be eroding, and I don't know where it comes out, so, but it's nothing to do with this individual, I understand that.
Yeah, and it is a state line. Okay, then, let's first then address the issue of the sidewalk waiver. Sir, could you
Yeah.
synthesize?
I move that we approve the waiver of the sidewalk on the following conditions. One, that DPW review the current site security that it has with respect, is it Apple Ridge? With respect to Apple Ridge in terms of their commitment to complete the sidewalk, including along this piece of property. And two, after a review, if they think more site security is necessary to ensure completion and protect the city, that they make that determination, that the applicant be required to post that security.
That sounds like a good plan. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of this motion, raise your hand. Are there any objections? Seeing none, then we will approve the waiver request subject to the conditions that David has read into the record. Then we'll go on to the principal application, PL 2016-0016-U, which does include the CUP, which is necessary within the motion, within the application. Is there a motion to accept this application? You're on a roll, good.
I'm on a roll, so I move that we grant conditional approval with the following criteria. And I'm not making any changes, so if there's something somebody wants to change, tell me. But consistent with paragraph 1, A through D, with a completion date D of June 6, 2072.
2070?
2017.
You got extra time.
Paragraph, conditional approval consistent with paragraph 2, plan revisions A through D. Conditional approval with, consistent with paragraph 3, A through F. Conditional approval consistent with paragraph 4, A and B. Conditional approval consistent with paragraph 5, A through H. And paragraph 6, as-built plans as described.
Excellent. Excellent. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second it.
Jay seconds it. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mr. Dunn, and we wish you a lot of success in your project.
Thank you.
We'll now move into brand-new public hearings. The first is for Shore Drive, subdivision of one lot into three. Have we accepted this?
Yes.
We have accepted it. Then we can begin immediately to ask the applicant to come forward. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Gray. My wife and I purchased this lot over on Shore Drive. It's a 2.9-acre parcel, and we're proposing to subdivide it into 3 lots, all single-family homes. We have one waiver request for a sidewalk in there. Seems to be the night for that. And that's about it.
Okay, staff?
So this lot is proposed to be divided into 3 lots. They will have municipal water, not municipal sewer. They will have septic systems. The applicant worked with DPW to look into the possibility of extending sewer to the lots. Unfortunately, that did not seem to be a viable option due to a number of reasons, including cost, ledge, and wetland impacts. So given that, with one municipal utility, they still do meet the minimum lot requirements for the zoning ordinance. Dimensional requirements are all met. The sidewalk conversation, when you get to that point, the only thing that I would like to point out is that there is a wetland area that would be impacted by the sidewalks. It is not the entire length of the frontage, but that would be something that the applicant has to work around. They'd have to submit a CUP to us and go through the process with DES for wetland impacts for that portion. So I'm sure that you just point that out for you as part of your discussion.
Where is that?
Right on the plan here, right in front of the center lot.
Lot 2.
Okay.
Yep.
And it continues to the corner of Shore and Lexington. There's a swale.
Oh, yeah, there is a
swales that
little-
runs along
yeah, a
the
little
course of the
swale.
roadway there.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to pick it out there, but you'll see the buffer on Lot 1 as well.
Yeah. So, it does make the lots a little tight for construction, but it does leave, enough square footage for someone to build a single-family home without requiring a variance or anything like that as far as the setbacks
And
go.
the septic can fit?
It can. They got their septic permits. We have copies of that on file.
Was that from the state DES?
That was from the state.
And they're using city water, they're not having a well or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Where's the sidewalks outside of this project?
So
Where are the
there
sidewalks?
is a sidewalk, I believe, that comes up to, if not the abutting lot, very close.
Yeah, the first house
see it?
indicated on the right, a sidewalk begins there and goes, I'd say, at least a quarter of a mile up to the intersection of another road. And there have been new houses, construction in there. And so this is a situation where it isn't a sidewalk to nowhere. It's really a continuation of the sidewalk that is on Shore Drive.
So what would be the impact on that wetlands? How does he work around that?
It would be hard. It would be a permanent impact to the wetland.
So he has to go through that wetland, right? I mean, there's
If
no-
he's gonna
there's no
put
around it.
sidewalks
I mean,
there.
there's
No, the road is there.
Huh?
The road is there, so, there,
Yes.
yeah.
There's no circumventing that.
Yeah.
It has to take place, okay.
Aren't there sidewalks on Lexington Drive?
No.
There are not. Wow.
That's always been a discussion point, the industrial parks, as to do they have sidewalks or don't. This one, when it was initially approved, might have been before the city regulation that requires sidewalks. And many applications have been approved without sidewalks up in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, but this isn't down in the industrial. This isn't down to the other end.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's this Shore Drive does, from this end to the entire end, doesn't have a one continuous long sidewalk. It goes from the road, I think it's Pump House Station, it's a funny name or something, road.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, from that point all the way down to these 3 lots. And so,
But it does stop short. It doesn't actually get up to the lots there. It's probably, I think it's the house before it. It doesn't actually come up to the lot line at all.
You probably know better.
think it's
When I did a site inspection,
Yeah.
it did come down.
I think it's
Very
probably
close.
75, 100 feet short, something like that, but.
So if I were to interpolate this, I would interpolate that the road, city approved at that point, did crop through that wetland, right?
Yeah, I mean, the wetland also, given where the road is and the fact that the lots are very ledgy, kind of sandwiches that,
So we put the road in and we let it go through that portion of that wetland, that's what I'm saying, okay.
if,
Darn city again, huh?
Dancing.
Any other discussion before we move into butters?
Well,
We'll come,
just so I understand, the waiver of the sidewalk, and I don't like to waive sidewalk.
I agree.
The waiver of the sidewalk in this case is unique because of the absence of sidewalks anywhere along here, and two, the wetlands issues. Is
The absence of sidewalks is not unique. Often when we get waiver requests, it's because people are saying there are no other sidewalks.
this does have sidewalks, though, up this side of the road, in
And
front of all
so-
these houses.
And so absence of sidewalks in the surrounding area has not often been a reason that the planning board has felt in the past. I'm just telling you what you guys have done is
Okay.
sufficient for granting a waiver.
And tell me why the wetlands issue creates a problem. Does he have to get a variance, or?
He would not need a variance, but he would have to come back to the planning board for a CUP for the wetland impact. So he'd have to come back to us. He'd also have to go to DES for a wetland impact situation.
And getting that granted would depend upon how he engineered that sidewalk, or what type of sidewalk would go in there.
Well, it's not impossible, is it?
No, I'm not an engineer. I can only,
Well,
The,
you know, I don't want to create an
large-
extra burden for the applicant.
The
but-
large portion in the middle
Yeah,
drains from there to the catch basins at the corner of Lexington and Shore.
yeah.
So impacting that's going to have a huge impact on the main wetland area as well, because it won't have anywhere to drain to.
Well, I mean, you'd have to install drainage as
You'd have
part
to
of
do
that.
some,
Yeah.
yeah, it would
Yeah.
get pretty involved.
I don't want to be difficult, but this is just my thought. This
Yep.
is not saying I'm for the waiver or against the waiver.
Yep.
Is like, you know, I assume you propose this development on land that you purchased for the purpose of developing it, so you were aware
Oh, yeah.
of the problems you might have in terms of the wetlands that you were purchasing. I'm very reluctant to grant a waiver of those sidewalks. I don't want to create a real burden for you. That's not my intention.
Right.
In terms of what goes on. Does he will have to go to DES?
Yes.
Okay.
And where do you stop it? Do you go around the corner to Lexington Drive, or do you stop it at the radius?
It would, if you're going according, you can't grant a partial waiver. If you're going according to the regulations, it would have to be along the entire frontage of those lots, so
And go
up
around to
and around.
Lexington.
Now,
Yep.
what was the, I don't know if anybody was around, what was the original intent with the sidewalk ordinance? It was to provide for sidewalks kind of in perpetuity. So as development occurred within the city, that sidewalks would be installed.
yes.
There has to be a beginning where no sidewalks are in existence for sidewalks to start.
I agree.
So, I'm assuming, looking at the, just an aerial photograph of Shore Drive here, there hasn't been a lot of subdivision or development along that road. All the stuff is pretty much developed.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was done in the 80s or earlier,
Prior to our sidewalk ordinance.
I believe so.
Yeah,
The end of
typically
it
no
must have
sidewalks.
been
But there are
the one with the sidewalks. Most probably, they were required to put it in.
That being
Well, we had a
said,
lady, I think it was Mass Ave, she subdivided her lot, and she made her house, and then she was looking for her daughter. And our ordinance said, what we, regulations say, that she had to put a sidewalk. But as we thought about it and talked about it, where's it going? There's gonna be no infill with that ever. In other words, it's just gonna be a segment of sidewalk, nothing ever tying in from the other side. There's gonna be no development down the road, and then coming from the other side. So why put the burden on the individual? It's not, and more than likely, it's gonna be a burden or a hazard. Someone's gonna walk on the sidewalk and have to walk on the street. So what comes out of that kind of thinking is that the money's put aside for other sidewalks to make them continuous throughout the city.
So, I'm sorry, I thought the waiver was for both sidewalks or payment in lieu of sidewalk.
No, so if you grant the waiver, they have zero obligation to
Thank you.
any
No
form of
money, no
sidewalks.
Right, I
If you
understand that. I'm
deny
saying-
the waiver,
So
yes,
what
then
can
you can
happen
give
with
them the
that
option of the
process,
payment in lieu of.
If we give him the option, he could then say, well, I understand that it'll go into some fund in this city, and that fund will be used, say, on Union Ave, or wherever DPW.
Well, it has to be in a reasonable vicinity of,
I understand, but I'm just
Yep.
saying, it goes to another location.
Yes.
That it makes it a continuous sidewalk that has a meaning, something that people can walk around and not necessarily walk back on the street. So there is an option, and that would be that option.
Payment in lieu of sidewalk.
Yes, right.
I'm
Understood.
going to ask the city historian, and where do the sidewalks begin out here? Where do they start,
Right here.
and where do they end?
And, yeah.
How far back towards Gale Avenue does that sidewalk go that's there on Shore Drive? If you're walking back towards Gale Avenue on Shore Drive,
If there's a road that goes up there, Charlie, it's,
Shore Drive,
No, it goes,
opposite.
it's between, what is that, Holman?
Holman.
Holman and Shore, you know how they go parallel?
isn't
It
this on
connects
Shore
them.
Drive?
There's a
Am I reading this
sidewalk
map?
from
Yes.
here.
Yes, so there's Shore Drive and Holman go parallel. There's a road that connects them,
Yeah.
and so just a little ways up from here.
So the sidewalk you're talking about
Actually,
is
you
not
can
on
s-
Shore Drive?
yes, it is.
So, okay, if you look in this little box,
Yeah?
okay, you can see that the striped lines are the lot, and Shore Drive goes down, go to the right.
Yeah?
See that where it hooks up? Oh, it's Linwood Road that goes parallel. That is about where they end on Shore Drive right now.
That's, and
It's substantial.
right, to his
It's a
point,
long ways
This,
on
all
shore.
that, all that going back, again, on Shore Drive and back towards Gale Avenue, that's all developed. Unless somebody tears a house down, there's no sidewalk there now.
Or DPW goes in and does upgrades and has to retrofit and install sidewalks,
Yeah.
which we have seen. I mean, the planning department got a grant for $500,000 to install sidewalks in places that there aren't any, you
And the
know.
last question I have is, the sidewalk that's there now, is that plowed in the winter?
My understanding is no, but I don't know that for sure.
DPW
I had to
doesn't,
bet $1, I'd say probably not.
DPW doesn't, I don't know that they plow all the sidewalks in the city in the winter, so I don't know about this
That,
one.
that's really an issue between the administration and the council.
I understand that, but if I'm being asked to put sidewalks in, they're only gonna be usable 7 or 8 months of the year, I would have an issue with that if I was the person being asked to put them in there. Because it's like, are they there for use or just to look pretty? So, and if you're not plowing them, then they
Yeah.
can't be used, the people back out in the road again.
Again, the way the property owner would address that, Charlie, is through his counselor into the council.
I noticed the success they have with that at the Weirs on Lakeside Avenue, getting those sidewalks plowed in the wintertime, which they're not, as we all know.
But again, there is always payment in lieu of sidewalk if the sidewalk is not appropriate in that
I
area.
see that, I understand that, I understand that.
But this is not like it's a sidewalk to nowhere, because it does connect. And as you all know, this is a very substantial neighborhood, very well-maintained, very nice properties.
Where's it connected? Where I'm confused.
The sidewalk, it goes all the way up to the road that,
Right, to Linwood, that little side road there.
Pump Station Road.
Pump Station Road, which is
But it
about
doesn't
halfway up.
contain you up
Halfway.
Shore Drive, I don't think.
I don't think so. Not right now.
Pardon me?
I don't think after Pump Station it continues.
It does not.
Not at the
I
moment.
just
It
went
stops
out there
there.
today.
And there would be a short distance where it wouldn't connect until it reconnects to the existing sidewalk.
And that's an instance when the city addresses those as the budget allows and does the infill. So, let's see, we've had a lot of discussion here. How about if we have we can continue the discussion as we go. Any direct abutters to this subdivision would like to address the board on this application? Yes, sir.
For the record, I'm Kevin Morissette.
Could you just speak into the microphone, Kevin?
For the
We know
rec-
you, but
For
we need...
for
it
the
for
record, I'm Kevin Morissette. I'm sort of a direct abutter. I didn't get a notice, but I'm across the street at an angle. If you came down Lexington Drive, you take a right. My house is right across the street on the lake, so we look
Okay.
at this. The only issue I have is this sidewalk. I've heard you talk about it, in several different projects tonight. I think sidewalk maybe doesn't belong in front of this, but it should be in lieu, he should make a payment in lieu of putting the sidewalk in front of this piece of property. Because Shore Drive, Holman Street, there's so many people that walk out there, and if we don't start extending the sidewalks when we get the opportunity to like this, I think the city's making a mistake. Because it does go from Pump Station Road, the sidewalk, right up to about this, and on the other side of Pump Station Road from Linwood, it goes up to the top of the hill where all the new houses were put in on both sides.
So aesthetically, how would it look without, and with sidewalks without sidewalks? How would it visualize? Would it enhance the neighborhood, the sidewalk, or not?
I think you need to, I'm surprised there's not more sidewalk down there. With the amount of people that walk between Holman Street, up Shore Drive, and Holman and that there's not sidewalks down there everywhere, because everybody walks in the road. And I think this is an opportunity to get...
Even along the sidewalk or on the other side of the road, okay.
Yep. And across the street from this project, you can't put the sidewalk the other side because there's phone poles in the way. And if you went the other side of Pump Station Road, that would be a nice place to continue it, but again, the phone poles jump to that side, then they jump back where the Wildwood Beach is. It would be awful nice to have sidewalk where that beach is, because you get a lot of people parking at the beach, you get a lot of people walking in the road. If you had the sidewalk there, people would walk on the sidewalk, and it would be a lot better for people parking at the beach and coming out as a safety. But, and you take Holman Street, as soon as from Gale Ave to Holman Street, the sidewalk goes up 3/4 of the way on each side and stops. It doesn't make it all the way up to the three-way intersection stop. So, that would be a nice place to continue one side of that sidewalk up, or both sides up to that intersection, so you're not crossing. That'd be a perfect spot to, the city could capitalize on some funds to extend that up on each side of that. They've already dug up the road, so I don't know if this, in that plan of redoing Linwood and Holman, the city's going to redo that road and pave it. Whether there's any, sidewalks planned on that, I don't know.
I don't either.
I just have a question. Since you live down there, do you know, after you turn off Gale Avenue going on Holman Street, do they plow what sidewalk is there in the
Yes, they do. They plow the sidewalks.
And the other question is, how long have you lived down there?
8 years.
Have you noticed any, or know of any concerted effort from residents of Shore Drive to try to get the city to put sidewalks on Shore Drive?
I'm not sure. They're probably, if I lived on Holman Street, or I have to travel that way, the road's falling apart, I'm sure they've been more concerned about just getting some asphalt on the road, never mind a sidewalk. It's very bad walking in the road. That section if you came up Pump Station Road and you turned right onto Holman and head that way, that section of the road is terrible. For a kid riding a bicycle or walking, it is absolutely terrible, and it has been for a lot of years.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other direct abutters?
Sidewalk.
Any other taxpayer of the city of Laconia that would like to address the board on this application? Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing at 7:40. General discussion?
I just have a question. I wanted to ask him.
Sure.
Because you're talking about either sidewalk or money going into a fund.
Yes.
And not, so I guess if I was you, I'd be thinking, well, which is the lesser of two evils on that? And it sounds like if, for you to put a sidewalk in front of these units here, you'd have to deal with a DES?
Yes.
Yeah, the state.
And would it be maybe easier just to say, here's some money?
I am not opposed to that.
Okay, thank you.
I would think it would, I would really want to see it kept close to that neighborhood,
Well,
as
I would-
opposed to going
Sounds like that's what.
Union
happens
Ave or
to it.
something like that, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's under the control of the, really, the city manager and the city council.
Yeah, I would feel good if we said, okay, let's
Um,
take that money and then put it where
Holman Street.
Kevin
Yeah.
mentioned, right? And that continues on to some.
I-
That's
Yeah.
beyond,
So
that's
I
beyond our
think-
authority.
So I know it's beyond,
Yes,
I'm
I
just
think
saying
it's
what I would feel better
DPW.
about.
It's DPW who,
Makes a decision, but
well, they figure out what that money was, like what area it was designated for.
Right.
And the applicant also has to concern himself with these three lots and the marketability of them and the neighborhood. Extending a sidewalk is a very positive thing in a neighborhood.
Can we give him the option?
Yes, by denying the waiver,
Deny the waiver.
Then he has the option.
You either build a sidewalk or you do payment.
yes.
We have to vote that in a motion, they do payment in lieu of the sidewalk.
No, he has a choice.
Yeah, by denying the waiver.
Denying the waiver, he.
It's part of our regulation.
And you can add the-
Okay,
add
so
that
we don't
option.
have to put that in a...
No.
We just
Well, add it
deny
if
the
you want.
Yeah.
waiver.
Yeah, add it if
He
you
has
want.
the option now
Yes.
of either building the sidewalks or paying some money.
Yes.
Okay?
And DPW is the one that determines the amount.
The amount of...
Yeah.
Does it automatically go into that realm of, no, it doesn't. So we have to say that we deny the waiver, but we would want the funding to go to some.
No, we can't do that.
No.
It just goes into the city.
No, what happens is it goes into a special sidewalk fund.
Right.
That sidewalk fund is itemized, and each amount that has been deposited into it is attached to the
I understand that,
project.
But I asked the question and I heard no,
Yep.
that if we deny it, right, then it doesn't automatically fall into that realm, does it?
Yeah.
It doesn't. I thought I just saw no from people saying
I
that.
don't know what you mean, fall
In
into
other
what
words,
realm?
if we say we deny the waiver,
Yes,
does that automatically say
yep.
that he now has
The
the
option?
option to put a sidewalk in or put the funding in? Is that automatic? I don't know. I don't know. I'm asking that question because I'm not sure that's what it is.
If you
Or does it
want
have
to
be part
cover
of the
your,
motion?
if you want to cover your bases, put it in the motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, all right.
I'm confused. We do know that there is sidewalk at the, looks like the southerly end of this subdivision, correct?
At that, yes.
Where the subdivision ends, that's where the sidewalks start going in the southerly direction.
Yeah, we said that, yeah.
So they're not sidewalks to nowhere. They're sidewalks, it's the last piece of sidewalk in that area of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay.
I thought there was 100 feet between, what's- so
There's
this,
a,
I'm so
No,
confused.
Looks like
does-
one
It does
lot
not go to the
frontage.
lot line.
there's one lot
All right, make a motion.
that doesn't have the sidewalk.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's make the motion to say, and put the requirement in about that the funding is, if you opt to not to put the sidewalk, this is funding goes into the,
It's not in front of that.
the city
It does.
offer, whatever. it
The
is.
sidewalk fund. Let's call it the sidewalk fund.
Sidewalk fund.
That's part of our regulation.
Boy, okay, can you coin a phrase, my man?
Let's see, where are we? We've closed the public hearing, so we're just in general discussion. So the first thing that we do address is the waiver. Is there a motion concerning this waiver request?
I make a motion, we deny the waiver, and that we allow the applicant to either put the sidewalk in or put it into a sidewalk fund,
The sidewalk fund.
the sidewalk.
That's good. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion before we vote? Then all those in favor of the motion to deny the waiver signify by raising your right hand. Is there any opposed? The motion passes with one dissent. Thank you. That addresses the waiver. And if you want more information, then please make an appointment with the planning director, and she can explain it to you.
I just want to say thank you for your patience. Appreciate it.
All right, you still have to vote on the subdivision.
Yes. Then, for application PL 2016-0054SU, is there a motion?
The Come on, Dave.
I'll make the motion. I move that the board grant conditional approval with the following conditions and/or criteria. Paragraph 1, compliance with project completing deadlines A through D. Paragraph 2, compliance with the plan revisions A through E. Paragraph 3, compliance with the conditions that must be met prior to final approval or recording of the Mylar, A through F. Paragraph 4, conditions to be completed prior to the start of site work. Paragraphs A and B. Paragraph 5, conditions applicable during and after construction, compliance with A through H. And paragraph 6, compliance with the as-built plans.
Excellent, thank you. Is there,
Second
a motion's been made and second, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? There is one opposed, but the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we wish you a lot of luck with your project here. That's a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood.
It is. We're excited to move over there. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good luck.
The next section are, where is the, oh, there it is. I saw you, and then I looked down, and I thought we were moving on to another section. I would not ever not call on you. The section of public hearings is the WOW Trail Phase 2. There's amendment. We had already granted the necessary approvals. This is an amendment to what we had granted to remove 12 on-street parking spaces at the intersection of New Salem and Pleasant Street as per actual city approval. The agenda was written prior to the city council action.
Yes,
The city council has actually taken action on this
correct.
request.
Yep, and we have the, if it's not in here, we have it in the file. We have the council's resolution.
So,
Passed it 5-1.
yes. So again, this is normally, as the first application came through us to the city council, and now the city manager and the city council opted to address this amendment prior to it coming here first. But again, this is a municipal project that requires a CUP from us, but they have final authority.
So you already voted on the CUP. You don't have to do that tonight. It's just the amendment.
So,
Is it just the 12 spaces, or is it that little curb cut up at the front?
you would,
What curb cut?
We're taking out...
The right turn.
Oh, that was included in the original approval. Yep, you guys already approved the removal of that lane.
Okay, so
This is
all we're
just-
concerned about is the 12 spaces on New Salem.
Correct. Yep.
so we recognize the president of the WOW Group, Alan Beadle.
Hi, Warren. Good evening, everybody. Alan Beadle from Laconia. I don't have much prepared to say. We made a change to the plans some time ago when we realized we just couldn't safely get the trail through New Salem Street. We tried to squeeze the trail in between the existing 12 on-street parking spots, shifting the lanes, reducing the lane size, shifting the curb on the other side, and trying to squeeze the the path through, but we ultimately were unable to do that in a safe manner. So at that time, it was suggested that we, because of the elimination of 12 on-street parking spots, we needed to go to the city council. So we did that. We had a public hearing. We were really pleased to have a great outpouring of support for the Phase 2. And so tonight is, I'm here to answer any questions you may have, but I think that's, the motion is really just the only change as far as what was approved in the past by this planning board is the elimination of those 12 spots.
I have a question, Alan.
Can I just do a procedural thing? Where this is an amendment to an approved plan, we do need to accept the application.
That's correct, yes.
And I would like to ask for a motion to accept the application.
Move it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Has it been completed by Brandy? Is she, are
It
you, are
is,
we okay?
yes, it is complete, yes.
All right, thank
you.
Sorry. Thank you. I should have asked that.
Hey.
Thank
This
you.
is good. This is good. I love this team.
So I move it, he seconded, okay?
Then, all those in favor of accepting the application, raise their right hand. Any against? The motion passes. The application is accepted. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Alan.
No, that's okay. It just occurred to me, being here and with this group, I'm not sure why I never discussed with you to do the kind of presentation we did for city council. We really...
Kidding.
Sometime when you have a...
Well, you had done it initially, when we granted the initial.
You just don't think we're important. I get that.
I would like to offer that anytime you would like, just to kind of give you an update. We did some pictures. We could essentially take you through the trail. If that would be something the board would like, I'd be delighted to do that.
Al, when that presentation came to us, I just want to make a comment about it. You know, I don't think anybody has an issue of what we're talking about, what, the Wild Trail.
Yeah.
I think everybody supports that, including myself. My issue becomes on how we do it. You had your engineer in here and for this phase.
For the public hearing, yep.
Yeah, I remember that. And there was some woman and some other people, they had problems near at their house, whatever, cutting up. Now, I'm not saying legally they had rights to what they were talking about, but I asked your engineer, and I can't think of his name.
Jay Poulin.
Whatever it is. I asked your engineer, I said, can you engineer the route of this trail around different things? Oh, yeah, we could do that, he said. This is what he said. I said, okay. I said, did you ever consider doing anything like that for these oppositions or whatever? He said, no, like that.
You know what
So-
specific section you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it was across the bridges and then down that street there, I'm not sure.
Across the Fair Street Bridge?
But the point is, okay, that there's water over the dam at this point in time, so you know. But my point is, it's not what we want to do, it's how we get it done. You know, what broken bones or broken glass that we go over when this occurs. And this is symbolism, what the parking and, you know, the guy's business and all that. And I don't want to get into too much detail, but all I'm saying is that if we can give more consideration,
Sure.
you know, when someone pipes up and says, you know, hey, that's, you know, that's their quality of life. Certainly, if that was your house, the corner of your property, you would want someone to hear you and maybe work with you, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And again, I'm saying this to you because as these things come at you, and you have these hearings, or, you know, you're reviewing and people giving you input, it'd be nice if your engineer or the people you're working with say, okay, yeah, we're not, you know, we're not the government going through here. We are an organization that wants to work with the community and work with that individual, because that individual is important and what they feel. And maybe it's a matter of sitting with them on the side and saying, oh, yeah, you need a little fence here, whatever, you know, I don't know what the outcome of this could be. But all I'm suggesting is to make it a very warm, cozy feeling across the board with everybody.
Yep.
I'm just suggesting that.
No, I appreciate that. We really try to do that. We had some public hearings in the past. We've met with many individual abutters. I've spent hours with Mr. DuPont. You know, that, if you're familiar with that property, he's got a lawn that goes right up to the tracks. So 20 feet of his lawn is state land. And friends with his daughter. It's certainly an imposition.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, in some places, for some properties, it's not their favorite thing to see land that they've been using as their own for a long time.
Understandable, and
yeah.
you know, and I guess contact with, you know, with those type of people, your engineer, and see if they can do a little zigging and zagging. It might work, it might not
Yeah.
work, it might not be practical.
Yep, no, I appreciate that input, and we'll try to do better with that. And as I said with the board, you know, whether it's an update on Phase 2 or where we start for Phase 3, when we head north, we'd be delighted to come in and take 15 minutes and give you an update on that.
Thank you. Staff?
So this application is solely for that amendment to realign that portion of the WOW Trail that goes along where those 12 parking spaces are. My understanding is that the state is requiring a certain number of feet separation between the track and the trail, and that's why they had to bump it out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, City Council has approved the use or removal of those 12 spaces in order to accommodate the trail. This was mentioned as a possibility briefly when you guys did your original approval of Phase 2. It wasn't clear that they were going to have to go this way, so they held off on it until they got, I think, final word from the state, and that's what we're looking at now. Other than that, there were no issues, engineering-wise, drainage-wise, anything like that, that any of the departments had comments or issues on.
If you, just to add to that, if you notice when you're walking the sidewalk behind the railroad building, how close that sidewalk is to the rail, we were hoping that we could ask the Bureau of Rail to essentially designate that whole stretch up to Pittman's as a station area, a loading zone, thereby moving the trail essentially that close, which is just a couple of feet from the rail, with a fence.
Which it is at...
Which it already is there, it already is for 1,000 feet at the weirs, but we were, that's what we were hoping to do, and we could have saved those parking, but we just, we weren't able to do
Some
that.
areas, and you go to many places throughout the country, they'll take a lane and they'll have a little bicycle thing on it, right? And it's allowed for people to pull over cars or whatever also.
Yes,
Is it kind of a thing that can occur with that?
absolutely, yeah.
So theoretically, right down in behind Pittman's, right on that side, you could put, that type of designation on the ground?
That's always an option to do on any street, We see,
So...
Yep.
I tell you, that would take a lot of pain away from people, I think, so,
yeah.
Just a suggestion.
Yep.
Are there any direct abutters that would like to address the board on this application? Are there any other taxpayers of the city of Laconia that would like to address the board on this application? Seeing none, then I'll close the public hearing at 7:58. Is there a general discussion before we move to the motion? Yes,
A
Charlie?
real quick question,
Yeah.
because I wasn't at that meeting, Alan, and I saw where the Bean family came forward and was making that, are those parking spaces, or is it just dirt?
It's just dirt.
It's just dirt. Is that something that they're going to have open all day, or just for people that are coming downtown and looking for a place to park?
That's now,
Is that under discussion?
well, the city has now added them as a insured, so that anyone could use that for public parking. I believe he's only offered that for non-business hours, so after the Salvation Army closes
Okay,
in the
and not during
weekends.
business. Oh, because that's their property, and they use it for parking?
Yes, but on the back side, I'm sure Craig would allow daytime use of that, because nobody ever uses that. There's probably 30 spaces on the back.
That's good to know. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know it, I didn't know if I just missed it, because I kind of looked for that, I didn't.
Yeah, that was a big help. I think it's something for Dick and Connie Mitchell and him to kind of work out, but the city has already, my understanding, has already added that property to their insurance, to Primex.
Oh, excellent.
Yep.
That was a very good suggestion by the Bean family.
Yeah.
To help there. Okay, then, is there, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to ask for...
I'm
Yes,
going
sir.
to ask a question.
Sure.
I'm going to put you right behind the 8 ball. When are you going to get this done, assuming you get approval?
We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled in 2 weeks. The contractor, Lyman, we're excited that a local contractor has the low bid, and they are ready to begin in early July, and we will be substantially complete by November.
Now, you're going to put like I talked about, the little bicycle on the path and, paint it on the ground? Is that part of that? Like,
Can you ask that again? I'm sorry.
Well, you mentioned a few minutes ago that they're putting a bicycle, painted on the ground with a lane that shows that's a bicycle lane. Is that what that's going to look like in that general area?
On New Salem Street?
Yeah.
No. New Salem Street will have a 10-foot wide with the curb so that people will be able to walk and ride outside of traffic. But I think that suggestion would apply where you can't fit a trail through, and your last resort is to direct people onto the traffic, and then you let motorists know with those markings that bikes can share the road and take that lane as well.
Could you do that where that 12 parking spaces are and up through Pittman's? Could you do?
Well, you can do that, but, what you lose is the attraction of people coming to this area to use that, because now they're in harm's way. Once you put people out on the road, and they may be with strollers, or they're with their children, and you're out in traffic, people don't want to be doing that. So
Well, the advantage of the WOW Trail is that is a bike trail.
it's safer
And
for
so it's very,
pedestrians.
very safe.
But typically in that area, you don't want them high-speeding biking through there. You would want them to slow down, even walk if they could, through that general area,
Well,
intersections
people
and traffic and all that.
actually will be able to ride through that. It's
Yeah,
wide enough that people could ride in both directions on the path.
Right.
When they get behind the railroad building, there'll be signs asking cyclists to dismount.
Right.
And cyclists will or they won't, but they'll be suggested to, and typically, if it's busy pedestrian out there, they're going to get off their bike and walk it through that area.
So my suggestion is what I said, but it could work because they're going to get off their bikes and slow down. You want them to slow down and walk or whatever in an area that could be, dangerous. Okay.
Then, therefore, I would like to ask for a motion to approve PL 2015-0027 SP Amendment 1. Is there a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion to accept application PL 2015-0027 SP Amendment 1 with conditions on number 1, project completion deadlines, A through D. Number 2, plan revisions, A through B. Number 3, conditions that must be met prior to final approval or recording of the Mylar, A through E. Number 4, conditions to be completed prior to the start of site work, A through B. Number 5, conditions applicable during and after constructions, A through E. Number 6, as-built plans.
Excellent, thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Jay has seconded the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by raising their right hand. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Oh, okay. And with one abstention, thank you for calling that out. I did not see that. With one abstention, the motion passes. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's
So,
a,
Alan, are they going to plow that section?
I guess I'll get out now. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah, I wonder if they will plow that, along those
Now,
spaces there.
Certainly from
All my apologies. My daughter is in town for 2 or 3 days. I told her I'd do dinner with her tonight, and that I would leave the planning board by 8 o'clock at the latest and meet her, so I'm leaving.
Would you like to for me to give you a note that you left by 8?
Don't we have an ordinance payment in lieu of
Of leaving early?
Attendance?
I'll make that motion. I'll make that motion.
Okay, now the exciting part of the evening, which we have many of our city's attorneys here for, is the application acceptance. Legally, we need to proceed one at a time with these. We can't take them. Yes, sir, we do. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
So you didn't have to come.
Everybody have a great night.
Thank you, David. The first application for acceptance is 89 Union Avenue, change of use to building for residential units. Does the planning director certify that the application is complete and ready for public hearing?
It is.
Then I would like to have a motion to accept the application. please.
I'll make a motion to move it.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. 32, Otterson Court, proposal to change the form of ownership from commercial to commercial condominiums for 8 units. Does the planning director certify that the application is sufficiently prepared and ready for public hearing?
It is.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the application?
Move it.
Second.
Motion's made, second, discussion, none? All those in favor, right hand? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much. Just for the record, I'm Rod Dyer, and I'm here basically to introduce the newest member of our law firm, Brett Allen, was sworn in as an attorney a week ago Friday. He's one of the Webster Scholars, which means that he's one of the lucky young lawyers that do not have to take the New Hampshire Bar Association.
Whoa.
He's certified
Congratulations.
as qualified by the New Hampshire Supreme Court, and so he was sworn in as an attorney on a week ago Friday, and graduated from law school the next day.
Whoa.
As an attorney. So you'll be seeing Brett on and off, hopefully less often as far as I'm concerned, but more often as far as Brett is concerned, so.
Excellent.
Thank you for
I'll
the
bring him
introduction.
along and introduce Brett to the board.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're much friendlier than your partners will suggest.
That's why he's putting you up front now, see?
326 Endicott Street East, subdivision of one lot into 7. Does the planning director certify that the application is complete and ready for public hearing?
It is.
Then could I have a motion to accept the application, please?
Motion to accept.
Gail moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. 72 Gold Street, replacing existing boat storage wash facility with same but different configuration. Now, this is Lakeport Landing.
Correct.
Okay. Do you certify the application ready for public hearing?
I do.
Is there a motion to accept the application?
Move it.
The motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, second. All those, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 713 Endicott Street North, subdivision of single-family residence from Camp RV Park. Does planning director certify the application is ready for public hearing?
I do.
Could I have a motion to accept the application? Jay?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? The second?
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise their right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Wow. We should do that with sidewalks.
We did.
Yeah, we did. There's never a case for you that are new, when a developer comes forward, an applicant that has a sidewalk in there that we don't have to have this discussion with.
Are you saying we should not allow the waivers?
No, I'm not saying anything, but I'm just trying to condition you that it is very, very normal to have a discussion about sidewalks. And it's become very normal to ask whether they're plowed in the winter. Under new business, Don Richards is not here with us this evening. He is the senior member of the planning board, and as such, for the past, decade, he's always been the chairman of the nominating committee. There is a state requirement that every year, the planning boards in all the municipalities have to elect their own officers. And we have asked Don to do this again, following tradition. And he will be doing that, reporting back at the July meeting. The law also states that officers need to be from the ranks of the city council appointed, direct appointed, and so it excludes those that are ex officios, it excludes alternates, and it brings it to those individuals. But Don will report next month. Any old business to come before the board? Any reports, planning department?
Yep, a couple things I'd like to update you all on. The portion of the Riverwalk that connects the back of the Beacon West property to Beacon West itself is under construction. If you've driven by there, you'll see that there's some trees that are coming down. They're doing grading. They're moving along very quickly. I was just out there with Luke Powell and Kevin Dunleavy maybe 2 weeks ago, and they're already trucking along, and I think they're anticipated to be done in a couple of weeks. So very shortly, you'll be able to go right from Beacon West down along the Riverwalk behind that property, and then you'll come back out on Water Street. At some point, once Phase 2 is done of the WOW Trail, you'll be able to hook up with the WOW Trail there once you get down Water Street where the railroad is. So we'll have a really nice connected network there. So I want to just let you guys know to watch out for that in a couple of weeks.
Has DPW given any estimates on the sidewalks that are going to be installed that were part of the grant process?
Estimates? Oh, time-wise?
Time-wise.
Yeah, so we are doing engineering. So in case you were not aware, last year, the city was granted a almost $500,000 grant for the Transportation Alternatives Program, and that's federal money funneled down through the Lakes Region Planning Commission. That is meant to add links for the Riverwalk. It will go, so right now the Riverwalk comes behind City Hall and goes kind of up to the edge of where the Binney Media property is now. It will extend along that. The bridge over the canal will be replaced. It's not safe right now. It'll then come up and meet with Church Street. You'll be able to cross the bridge on Church Street and then come down, is that Jewett Street? That comes along the river? River Street? Okay, River Street?
Yeah, Jewett Street comes down.
Okay, that comes along the river, so it'll come down to that point, at which point it will hook up with the Riverwalk that's going in as part of the 126 Union project. So we're going to have a pretty nicely connected network. In addition to that, we're also going to have sidewalks installed on Winnisquam Ave. There are a lot of kids that walk up to the school there, and it's kind of just a wide expanse of asphalt with no real separation between the traffic and the sidewalks. So those will be upgraded. They'll be safer. There's a path up on Winter Street. I believe it's off Winter Street, where we'll have some sidewalks put in and some lighting. Especially in the winter, it's dark and a lot of kids are taken that way. It's kind of wooded, so that'll be a lot safer too. So we've got a lot of projects going on that are really going to connect together as part of that grant. So they're doing, Luke Powell's taking the lead on that. I'm very grateful to him. There's a lot of paperwork he's got to do, especially with the federal funding. But that is in engineering right now, and I think they expect to do construction next year.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so in the next year or so, we're going to have a lot of things coming on board. I also want to let you guys know that the TightFlex expansion, we approved that, I think it was last year, a pretty large expansion to their facility is coming on board. They have finished their porous pavement parking lot. So this is the first commercial, no, I apologize, because 118 Main Street finished first. But TightFlex is a large expanse, porous pavement, so if you guys ever want to take a drive by there when it's raining, take a peek, see how that works. You'll notice there's no sheet flow off the parking lot.
Did we approve that?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
Because they've been identified as a potential PFOA generator.
They have? Great.
There are two in Laconia.
They're in the industrial park, right?
They are in the industrial park, yep. There will be signage up shortly for that porous pavement to let people know it's porous pavement for education purposes and also for maintenance purposes so that sanding trucks don't go in there and clog it up. Across the street here, we have 126 Union, the former FW Wed property. We are hearing from the developers that they expect to possibly have that all buttoned up by July. With people in there if they meet their deadlines. So that portion of the Riverwalk, again, will be open, so you'll be able to cross that pedestrian bridge across the river, take the Riverwalk up that way. The other thing I want to update you on was last Monday, on May 23rd, we held the Community Action Summit. This was for the master plan rewrite process. I emailed you all about it. You should have received notification. We had a decent-sized turnout. We talked about a lot of the action items that might go into the master plan. So we're hoping to really get rolling and start wrapping the master plan process up shortly. Shortly meaning, a few months. We've got a few more chapters to do. Lastly, I just want to give you an update on what's going on downstairs in the office. As you know, Shanna left for another position in Somersworth after the April 5th Planning Board meeting, and Chris Snow, our zoning technician, retired on March 30th. March 31st. So we've been a little shorthanded downstairs. We continue to be shorthanded. So thank you all for your patience as we hit a few bumps in the road. But everyone is continuing to step up and take on a lot of work. They did post for Shanna's position. They did, the city did decide not to fill that position at this time. They interviewed a few people, but they decided that they weren't the right people for the job. So in the meantime, I will be interim director until such time that the city decides to post for Shanna's position. Again, I don't know how long that will be, a few months or so. We're going to kind of see how that timeline works out. In the meantime, however, we have posted for the zoning technician job, and that closes next Friday. We're hoping to get some good applicants and get someone in there as soon as we can. Chris did a lot of work that we are all now trying to share the burden of down in the office. So if you have any questions about what's going on, please feel free to come in, visit, give a call, whatever it might be. We're happy to keep you guys in the loop. That being said, if you want an answer from me, I will be gone from this Friday, June 3rd, and I won't be back until June 15th. So ask me tomorrow or wait.
So the first thing, as soon as you get to be head of the department, you take vacation.
To be fair, this was planned like 6 months ago.
It's a privilege.
My question is in regards to the maintenance of the hot top that's going to be maintained and vacuumed out
Yeah.
and all that. Do you have, does someone have something written up on that, or what they're looking for?
Yeah, as part of their approval, they were required to submit a maintenance plan to us.
Yeah.
It's on record.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But what about our end of it, enforcing it, monitoring them? Do we have a check-off list? We're going to check it every 6 months, every year?
Not necessarily, but Scott does, Scott McPhee, our conservation technician, is very active. He's out on a regular basis checking sites, and I'm sure he'll probably add that to his list of things to check on
But
regularly.
I think it's prudent that we do something like that.
Yep.
Someone submits their maintenance for something as critical as that could be.
Yep.
And that someone goes out maybe, I don't know, midsummer or in the spring when all that
Yeah,
material should be
definitely,
backed up.
definitely late winter, early
And
spring
there
is
should be
the
a check.
time.
I believe that someone should have a check. It's bite-sized right now.
Well, I think, though, that it's not unique in that it's something we have to check, because every property has stormwater infrastructure they're supposed to maintain as well. And we don't go out and check that on a regular basis, and this is similar
Yeah,
to that.
But the issue on that becomes, we say this is predicated
Yeah,
on you cleaning out or vacuuming out that hot top.
as is the stormwater infrastructure.
Saying on this particular
Yeah.
case, it's predicated on that, and we only have a handful to look at initially. If people feel as though we're sincere about what we're doing and the importance of doing it, and we have a schedule that they're gonna go out and visit, and if you wanna notify the owner or whatever, this is when we're gonna look at it to be sure that it's functioning the way we anticipate, then I think we should have a checkoff list, and that should be posted, and say, hey, look at this, on the 15th, it's gonna be checked this.
It's something we can think about. Right now, we're stretched to our
I'm always
limits.
hearing we're thinking about it even when you were
Well,
staff.
but do we have checkoff lists for other elements of site plan approval? Landscaping,
We do,
lighting?
but it fall, yes.
Do we, oh, no, I'm sorry, is that a yes?
But we-
For
we
completion,
put it
for
on-
project completion.
We put it on,
But not maintenance?
No.
well, not maintenance, but we say, come out with your maintenance plan, whatever it may be. We say, come out with your maintenance plan, and they supposedly are gonna maintain it. This is fine, that's who they should maintain it.
Right.
But we don't go out and check them.
Well, for example, we approve parking lot lighting, 100% cutoff, so we don't get light pollution.
Right.
When that lamp burns out and they replace it with something else, do we check that?
Not necessarily.
No,
That's
but
maintenance.
if we happen to notice it, we'll,
But, I mean, the point is this, is it's good to look at look at all things, but just to narrow on one, I'm not sure that
No, the
that's
thing is, we don't have, I don't feel as though. we have-
ongoing enforcement.
We don't have
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So I'm saying, where this is bite-size, let's step into that world a little bit.
Yeah, the whole issue of code enforcement is a critical one for the
huge
city.
issue.
Right, so I say step into
Yeah.
this a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a handful of areas that we're concerned about. Then we want to prove the hypotheses out to a certain level.
Yep.
Are we involved in enforcement? No.
No, the
Site
department is. It's an administrative, a direct responsibility, really, of the city manager.
Is it most appropriate for us to send a letter to the city manager saying we are concerned
No, I mean,
on
I'll
an
go and talk
ongoing
to him.
basis about
Yeah.
enforcement of site plan components, like asphalt, like lighting, like
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever it may be.
And could he address that? Because the only way you're going to do enforcement is you got bodies.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that might be an issue outside of, I don't know if it's an issue for the board or an issue for you as a private citizen. I mean, we do what we can to enforce
of
our
course.
site plan approvals.
But
And we tell the developers, whoever, with your maintenance plan, they submit a maintenance plan, and then,
we legally require them to do certain things.
and we don't follow up and see if they've done it.
And but we're not responsible for enforcement, somebody else is.
Well,
The city is.
Right,
the
right.
planning department is responsible for ensuring that people follow their site plan approvals. Their site plan approvals often include stormwater and
And
other type
maintenance
of
components.
infrastructure maintenance.
Right.
And we have,
You don't,
lumped in porous pavement as a stormwater infrastructure.
do you have the resources necessary to enforce the site plan components?
To enforce them or to go around and check every single
Well,
catch
no,
basin?
but that's enforcement. I
Yeah.
mean, if that pavement's not being maintained correctly,
I don't know if she can answer that. Will you put it in her...
but that's
Yeah,
why,
I mean-
to
We
Bill's
don't do
point.
it, that's the
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
We don't do it. So where the resources are, do we have enough, not have enough? That's a management issue. That's not, from that point of view.
Yeah, it's a city manager
But we don't go
council.
out and do it as a rule. We rely on the individual who submits that plan, and we're saying, well, they're good, they're honest people, and they might be. And they might be doing what they should be doing. But do we even see those, do we validate those plans to see if those are real valid plans? Maybe they're not even valid plans. We don't know that.
The maintenance plans go through review as part of
Yeah,
the
they do.
staff
I understand that.
technical
But are they
review.
valid plans from an implementation point of view? If you go out and you say, oh, why isn't that the way it is? And they say, well, we can't do that because this unknown reason, unforeseen reason. So we can grow, we can develop ourselves that way. I think we should have an important focus on doing at least one type of maintenance program that we approved, and we want to see that followed up. I mean, I think whether it be, the hot top is how many, 2 places?
We're gonna have 3 with the hospital.
3 places, no big deal. I mean, that's not taking every resource of the community. There's three places, put it on a schedule, July, go to this place, go to that place, go to that place. And most of that, I believe, is going to be visible and with a pail of water. You put
Well,
a-
these are addressing conservation and stormwater, which falls underneath the conservation tech. And Scott does get out of the office, and he is under the direction of the planning director to do that. And to that point, when Brandy is not here for the next couple of weeks, if you have any questions, please go first to Scott McPhee, and he'll ensure that you get the answers that you do have. because he then would, on a temporary basis, be reporting to the city manager, and probably Scott McPhee can handle most of our
And you're right,
issues.
Seth was very good. He would come out, he would look at things, and he was
Yeah.
very good that way.
Yeah, Scott does that. too.
Scott's out
Excellent.
several times a week. He's very on top of things. He's,
I'm not saying,
yeah.
I'm not casting any stones at anybody.
Yeah.
Oh, we've all made our points. Let's,
I'm just
maybe we
saying
should move
be
along here.
doing something like that.
I would like to give it a little advertisement for the city of Laconia. Brandy was updating us on several projects, but I'm, as you know, Chair of the Lakes Region Planning Commission. It's 30 communities in this area, and as I said at several of the master plan sessions, public sessions, there is more actual development taking place in the city of Laconia than in the rest of the Lakes region combined. We address things, and then we go on, we address another thing, and go on, we address another thing. But the number of actual projects that are being done in the city is enormous. And it's not just from the city side, it's from the private side as well. As you know, the hospital has come before us, and we've approved 2 substantial projects for them. And unfortunately, as you're all aware, they had a wicked financial year that they've just completed. But hopefully they'll be able to get those on track. So it's just, we read newspapers and the crime and this and that, but just be aware there are so many private individuals that are making substantial investments in projects in this city.
One thing, Warren, and I didn't know if anybody else would be interested in this, would it be appropriate to ask the Belknap County Economic Development Authority that's renovating the theater to give us a briefing on where things are? Because that's going to be like the crown jewel in the middle of town.
Certainly, we can ask for that. Yeah, and they'd be happy to.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
I had an opportunity as part of the Planning Commission to go through that with Congressman Ginta, and it's very impressive, extremely impressive. Let's see, liaison reports, Lakes Region Planning Commission. Very happy to announce that we were just notified that we have a $400,000 grant from the government for brownfields remediation and study. And this is for the 30-member community, Lakes Region community. But money from this fund in the past has been used for the Colonial Theater. It has also been used for Phase 1 and Phase 2, different assessment levels for the Lakes Region facility, the state school prison property. And it's a tremendous grant that I'm sure the city of Laconia keeps coming up with projects, raising their hand and getting a portion of it.
Is that federal and state or just federal?
Federal. This is from federal.
And it's administered by Planning Commission.
Yes, by the Planning Commission. Did Scott give you any updates on the conservation, Concom?
We did. Tributary and deep water testing begins this month. I believe this morning he was out kind of getting that rolling. They've scheduled bacteria testing for that grant that we received that will be testing the waters down by Weirs Beach. I don't know if you all remembered that grant. So a few years ago, we had the bacteria dogs come in and sniff around. We got a follow-up grant to address those issues, to find the sources and do some upgrades. Part of those upgrades will be part of the Lakeside Ave renovation that City Council's been talking about.
And they're beginning that, what, in 2 weeks, tearing up Lakeside Ave?
Right before Motorcycle Week.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm kidding. The Blackbrook watershed plan is due to be completed the end of this month, June 30th. Very exciting. I believe the Conservation Commission, they had a meeting tonight, and I think they're having a joint meeting next week with the Guilford Conservation Commission, who they've been working in tandem with on this project. The Weed Watcher Milfoil Patrol group is on the roll for the year. They're out looking for that. And then that 30-foot intermittent stream water body buffer that the board voted on last month is due to go before the council, if not at the next meeting, then the following one. So within the next couple of city council meetings.
And he was out behind CVS, and there was cuttings, and you want to talk about that a little bit?
CVS, over by Arson, is that Arson? Off of what's the name of that road? So
Blaisdell Avenue?
yes, right? Yeah.
Behind CVS.
Yeah.
And the one
so-
on Lakeside Avenue, Guilford at
Guilford.
McIntyre
Yeah,
Circle.
so Bill called, there's been cutting going on there. I sent Scott out. He contacted the folks at the Guilford Planning Department, because
Talked to
part of that
John-
property
talked to John and
goes
Guilford,
over.
right.
Yep. And it looks like they're not doing any cutting in the wetland or any buffer areas, but they are doing some cutting in anticipation of a project that I believe will be before the board at some point. I don't know the extent of that, but
Cutting is really confined to Guilford.
yes,
Right.
it's mostly happening on the Guilford side of
And
things.
any cutting in Laconia, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But my understanding is that's in anticipation of a potential project that we'll see at some point.
Do we know what the project is, okay?
Yes, the planning
Tight lip.
director at the Planning Commission Executive Board indicated that Irwin Marine has a large area there of land that is both in Guilford and Laconia, and they're going to be, the bulk of it's in Guilford. I think it's where that Home Depot was going to go in.
At one time, yeah.
Yeah, as you look at Lowe's, it's on the right-hand side, and they'll be coming forward, and it's going to be, at this stage, the plan is for outside boat storage
Oh, okay.
back in there. Excuse me.
So that's the end of the Conservation Commission update. Unless you all have questions, I'll see if I can answer them.
City Council is not here. Any other business to come before the Planning Board? Minutes, the minutes of May 3rd were transmitted electronically, allowing for review. I would like to ask for a motion to accept the minutes of May 3rd, 2016.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Anything else to come before this great council? No? Then,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
excellent. You've been reading the agenda. Is there a second to that motion? That very popular motion. Motion made, second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous. And thank you all for coming and being engaged.
We adjourned at
At 8:31.